If you're an author or plan to be one, get excited because this podcast is for you. Book Marketing Mentors is the only podcast dedicated to helping you successfully market and sell your book. If you're ready for empowering conversations with successful marketing mavens, then grab a coffee or tea and listen in to your host, international best-selling author Susan Friedman.
Welcome to Book Marketing Mentors, the weekly podcast where you learn proven strategies, tools, ideas, and tips from the masters. Every week, I introduce you to a marketing master who will share their expertise to help you market and sell more books. Today, my special guest is Debbie Peterson. She runs a speaking and consulting business to help women in business uncover their own answers to create more authentic success in their leadership with less sacrifice in their life, through her unique career clarity system and community. Through her speaking and the clarity community, Debbie guides you to uncover your own answers for the next level of your success without losing yourself in the process. A dear friend and colleague, Debbie, what an absolute pleasure it is to welcome you to the show. And thank you for being this week's guest expert and mentor.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's so exciting. I've wanted you to come for a long time and we made it happen. Yay.
Yes, we did.
So, Debbie, you're all about getting clarity. Mm-hmm. And I feel that our authors, or many of them who are looking to use their book to start a business or develop their business, there's some pieces missing. And I think some of them have to do with clarity and being clear about things. So help us with that. How do you work with your clients around this whole subject of getting clarity in their business?
When it comes to getting clarity, there's a spectrum of sorts when it comes to clarity. Either A, you're on one end of the spectrum and you don't have enough options. Like you are stuck, you just don't see possibility. And it goes all the way over to the other end of the spectrum where you have too many options. Like I just can't pick. There's so many things that I could do. So the clients that I work with, whether it's career or business or leadership, this is what we determine first. What end of the spectrum are they on? So I would imagine someone who has written a book and wants to build a business around the book or somewhere along that timeline, that spectrum of, oh my goodness, I have no idea what kind of business I want to create. I don't know what I want it to be, versus I have all these options. There's all of these examples I see of different businesses that I could have or I could create with this book. On either end, you can get stuck because you don't know what to do. It's determining where they are along the spectrum, and then it is starting to ideate. It's starting to pull their answers out of the brain so they can actually do something with it.
I relate to this so well. I mean, I'm just thinking, going through my head, okay, I'm one of those people on the far end of the spectrum. I've got too many options, let's say.
Bright, shiny objects.
That's right. I'm very good with bright, shiny objects. Yes. Uh-huh. Just put one in front of me and I'm like, yeah, I'm there. Let's say we've got too many options. How do we determine which one would be the right one for us to take?
Yes, there are 4 pieces that I go through with my clients, and it is figuring out, first and foremost, what it is that you're passionate about. What is it that inspires you? What is it that pulls you or draws you, and why? That's the passion piece, and I'm going to come back to that in a moment. The next piece of it is to really have a plan. And a lot of times what happens with especially creatives that have written a book is that they like to create, right? That's why they have written the book. And what can happen is people can hold a plan in their head, like the entire plan. And well, this is what I want. And they hold it in their head. And the problem is that that's a recipe for stress. You really need to get what is in your head out and onto a piece of paper so you can do something with it. If you're going to build a business from this book, you've got to have an actionable plan. And so there are some steps to take around that. The third step that I work with my clients is around people. Who are the people that are going to help you build this business? Who knows what you need to know or who can help you along the way, like Susan, to help you market the book. And, that is a piece of you building your business. And then finally, the last piece is around performance. And it's kind of one of my favorite pieces because it's all about what gets in the way. Even if you have clarity around the type of business that you want to build, you know why it's this particular business that you want to build, and you've got a good plan and you've got people to help you, there are still things that are going to trip you up. That's important to identify too. From a mindset perspective, what is getting in the way? A lot of times it's us. So that's the framework that I take my clients through. And if we go back to the initial question of how do you figure out where they are along the spectrum? I mean, they'll know either I have no idea what I want my business to be, or I've got too many ideas about what my business would be. And the exercise is different, but with a different focus. So, Susan, someone who they've written a book, it's a fantastic book. It can help a lot of people, but they've written the book for everyone and they really don't know what kind of business they could create. So they just don't have any options that they are attracted to. What I suggest to them first is just to brainstorm, who are the people who own the businesses that they admire? Who are the authors that have built a business with their book that they envy, that they respect, that they admire? Just start picking up all of these seeds and keeping track of them because they're breadcrumbs of sorts. So we'll mix the metaphor, but to follow about what could be a fit from you, just by virtue of you being attracted to it, it could be a fit for you. And then conversely, the people who have too many options, the people who go squirrel every time they see a bright, shiny object, it's the same thing. You create the list of all of the different things that you could do with your business. And for each person, it is in this moment, which one are you going to prioritize first? Which one means the most? You can only pick one. And I've got a kind of unique way to do that.
One of the things that I'm hearing that's coming through as you're saying this, Debbie, is that there's an element of passion, what you feel strongly about, what you want to do. Because I think many times people think about, well, I see what somebody else has done and I want to copy them because they've been successful. But that's not necessarily the right way to go about this. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. And copy is kind of a dead giveaway. A lot of times we try to imitate others. We try to copy others. Emulate is a better word, or adapt. If there's something about the business that is attractive to you, then figure out what piece of the business is it that's attracted to you that you see in someone else. And again, this is a feeling. So, and that's why this particular segment is called passion, because it will light you up. And as a well-known colleague and coach of ours says, follow the free energy. So Michelle Villalobos, follow the free energy. The things that light you up, then you want to pay attention to that. Take steps in that direction because that will lead you to what is most passionate for you.
It's interesting is when clients come to me, Debbie, I hear straight away in their voice how they feel about their subject matter.
Yes. And it comes out in language too. Language is a window into the mind.
Yeah. Language is a window into the mind. That is beautiful. Yes. So much. I mean, I was literally just before you and I got on this call, I was speaking to a woman and she's so excited about her information. I was excited for her. She was it was catching. It really was the fact that what she was talking about. I mean, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so excited for you and about what you're talking about. I want to know more.
Right. So she's tapped into the energy, and we are energetic beings, not to get too woo-woo, but at our most minuscule piece, we are light. We pick up on what other people put out. If you've ever met anyone who creeped you out, you'll know exactly what I mean. But, you tapping into her and her energy and her passion for this, it's palpable. And so it's when you tune into yourself, because here's the deal. Only you have the answers as to what kind of business you want to build with this book. The answer is inside of you. It's not what anyone tells you to do. It is what you uncover about yourself. And one of the ways that you do that is you pay attention to how you feel about it. And you'll make missteps, but that's okay. It's just feedback. And then you kind of course correct and you keep going.
The problem with that is sometimes people give up because they're like, oh my goodness, I failed. Or, you call it course correction, which is beautiful because, yes, there's going to be stumbling blocks. There's going to be barriers, roadblocks that sometimes we don't even know how to overcome ourselves. Obviously, that's where we look for brilliant people like yourself to say, hey, how do I overcome this so that I can move forward and get even more clarity and direction with what I'm doing?
And clarity is internal. And I had a mentor of mine who told me that there is no failure, there's only feedback. Reframe the language. Again, language has power, words have power. Another thing that he had said is there's a Hawaiian saying, and essentially what the saying is in words there is life, or in words there is death. You have the ability to lift something up, put energy into something, or just absolutely squash it like a bug. Paying attention to your language and paying attention to how you feel, tuning into your own compass of clarity, because it is inside of you, if you're willing to listen for it.
Help us with that listening. There are people, yes, some people will get that, and other people will like, what's she talking about?
Yeah, I'll give you an example from my own business. So my book is a component of my business. My book is clarity. My word is clarity. My company is getting to clarity. Clarity is my superpower. It's what I do. And I primarily speak. When I started in the speaking business, I wanted to be everything to everyone. Not only was that ineffective, because writing a book gives you visibility and credibility, but not if you're trying to be everything to everyone. So figuring out, being able to articulate, this is who this is for, and this is how this can help this person. Even if it's not written that way in the book, even if the book is written for everyone, if you can have a conversation and articulate, this is how it can help this particular person, then you start gaining credibility as an expert, because people don't want a keynoter who speaks on everything. They want somebody who's an expert. So it required me to continually refine, to move off or away from that ledge of, hey, I'm, everything to everyone, to, you know what? I paid attention to how I felt. I am really best served by speaking to women in business, women in leadership, or emerging leaders. Those are the two market segments that I can help the most. Can I help CEOs? Yeah, probably, but that's not where my passion lies. That's not what makes my little toes tap. So that's what I'm talking about, paying attention and getting that clarity for yourself about what moves you. You get to pick the arrow that you want to point this. And so following that why, that thread, that energy, that feeling will direct you.
Yes, I love that idea and you talk about the clarity compass. Yes, so you're constantly looking. And it's so funny because you said, as a professional speaker starting out, I think so many speakers start out as like, okay, just pay me. I'll talk about anything you want as long as you pay me. Yes.
And
yes,
that's
yes.
stressful. That is stressful.
Tell me about it. I started like that too. And I know so many people who did. And then getting clarity, who you want to serve, who turns you on. There are some people, as you say, yes, you could speak to them, but is it the right audience for you? I could speak to many different people. Do I want to? No. I focus now on nonfiction authors.
Right.
That's who I feel connected to and passionate to help. Could I, do it for other people? Yes. But it isn't that same passion in there for that group of people. So
and the thing is, once you have that clarity and you figure out who it is that you are going to point the arrow at, it makes it so much easier for you to build that business. Who to approach, what to say yes to, conversely, what to say no to because it's not a fit. It's instant clarity of direction. And it's just so much less stress when you have it.
It's interesting that you say that who you could say yes to and who you could say no to. So many people, I talk a lot about niche marketing, as you know, and there's this fear of focus. Well, what happens if somebody comes to me that is not in my niche market? That's the sort of reaction or that question that I often get. And it's that fear of focus of, going in one direction and going down one path and saying, yes, these are the people who I want to serve.
Right.
And yeah, they're going to get the value. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the thing is that's how you gain traction. So I am a fan of the niche marketing. And there's two things I want to say about that. One, it allows you to go deep and vertical and to get well known in an industry. I do a lot of speaking in financial services. A lot of people in the banking industry know who I am because I've done dozens of the state banking associations. So by going deep and vertical, it has allowed me to gain traction and momentum. That's the first piece that I want to say. The second piece I want to say is that it is a decision about where you are going to spend your time and your resources to be efficient. If somebody comes to you that is outside of your niche market, but they're a fit for the content that you have for your book or whatever other thought leadership or products that you've built around the book, then you can say yes. There's no one who says that you can't. It's just, is it a fit? Or you could decide to do it anyway as a favor. Another coach that I had, the same thing. When it's outside of the wheelhouse, it's for fit or for favor. You get to make a decision. It's not that you can't do it. You can, but you make a choice. But when it comes to your everyday, your efforts, where you're going to put your time, where you're going to put your attention, then you get focused because that sliver of focus is going to create momentum.
Yes, yes. And you used two words that I literally wrote down before you even said that. And that is the whole idea of effective and efficient, marketing and promotion that you can do when you are targeted in one direction. When you've got, as you say, that arrow going in one direction to the target. Mm-hmm. So yes, we're on the same page here. I know we are. Let's talk about a little bit, I think it's the last piece when you talk about performance. Let's get a little bit more meat on the bones on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I do a fun exercise with this with my audiences. And what I do is that after we've gone through the system and they've gotten clarity on, okay, these are my next steps. This is my next level, or this is my next chapter. And they understand this is what it's going to take. They've got that extreme sliver of focus, according to Mark LeBlanc, who was the coach who said that to me. They've got the plan. So they've made steps and they understand it's actionable. They know the people that are going to help them get there. You go to pull the trigger on something and it's just kind of like, oh my God, am I ready? I need to do some more research, and you start backpedaling. And the 6 inches between our own two ears is the biggest tool that we will ever have to create any sort of momentum to achieve any dream that we want, full stop. And we're in the driver's seat there. We're the ones who say to our mind, with our language, with our thoughts, this is what I want to find. We give it instruction. And so when you wake up in the morning, what attitude? Paying attention. This is self-awareness. Is it, are you getting up when you open your eyes and you draw your first conscious breath? Are you picking up the cloak of woes and worries and everything that could go wrong and putting it on day after day? Or are you able to be aware of that and reframe the obstacles to, I get to create meaning in my life by addressing these obstacles? Are you looking at what is going right? So how you start your day, what beliefs you have about yourself in building this business. Oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do this. I have to be crazy to think that I can build a business off of this book. It was just such a passion of mine to build, but I'll never be able to. I'll never make any money. I mean, we have these limiting beliefs, these stories that we have been telling ourselves, and they're holding us back. And the thing is, we don't even know it. The things that we repeatedly do become a habit. The things that we repeatedly think become a habit too. And so these stories are running on automatic pilot. They're running in the background. We don't even know that they're happening. And yet they can be moving us forward. They can just as easily be holding us back. And so when I talk about what gets in the way, it's doing that check-in to say, okay, what is getting in my way? I hear things like fear, fear of trying something that I've never done before, fear of failing at it, Fear of being judged. What will people think? Fear of success. Oh my goodness, if this happens the way I want it to, will I have my life anymore? I hear not enough time. I hear other people and their problems. I've heard spouses. I've heard procrastination. I've heard everything from my audiences. And they tell me this is what's getting in my way. So my next question to them is, do you have control or influence over it? Do you have control or influence over your fear? If it's your fear, I would imagine you do. Do you have control or influence over your time? If it's your time, I would hope you do. So are you putting your time and your energy into the obstacles, these mindset pits that you're falling into that are keeping you from having the goal that you want? Or are you putting your time and energy and resources into the outcome that you want, business that you want to build? So where are you placing your focus? Because wherever that is where the business will go or what will happen in building the business. Kind of like when you're driving a car and you look off to the side and all of a sudden your car is veering in that direction. It's kind of the same premise.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm like these visuals of all these things, and I've heard them and many of them I've felt myself. Mm-hmm. So yes, I totally relate. And I'm sure our listeners do too, to so many of the things that you said, that imposter syndrome and the fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of being judged. I mean, I've been there. I know those feelings very, very well. Interestingly enough, you mentioned Mark LeBlanc, and we've interviewed him, and we've interviewed Michelle Villalobos as well. So those are ones that what I'll do is I'll link their episodes as well to,
that would be
to this one, which will make it dynamite. Yes, because of
brilliant.
Yes.
And one of the biggest antidotes for what gets in the way is people. When you surround yourself with the right people who get you, who have your back, who will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, who will lift the bar for you, then you go places. The African proverb, I think, is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And the same thing applies to your business.
Yes. And asking people for help. I think this is something that I found, I know for many, many years was really, really hard, was to actually ask, because I felt that, oh my goodness, how are they going to think of me? How are they going to judge me? They're going to, that I'm weak. But in fact, actually, it's the opposite of being much more courageous, of asking the question. And as you know, there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So Debbie, you've inspired us. Wow. I'm like, we talked about passion earlier, and listeners, just listening to Debbie talk about her subject, I mean, you can hear the passion. It's contagious. It really is. So if our listeners wanted to find out more about you and your services and even your book, how would they find out about you, Debbie?
Sure. Thank you for asking. They would go to debbiepetersonspeaks.com, and I've got the URL for whatever way you spell Peterson, but debbiepetersonspeaks.com, and you can find my podcast, my book, any coaching options, as well as my keynoting. It's all right there on one site.
Beautiful. Yes. And she's brilliant. Listeners, I would really check Debbie out further. She's a real gem. Debbie, if you were to leave our listeners with a golden nugget, what would that be?
Well, what I would say is that when you feel like quitting because you think that things aren't working, take the time to consider that you are on the precipice of coming into exactly what you want.
Yeah, didn't Malcolm Gladwell call that the tipping point? Yeah. And that's often when we give up, just at that point.
And I have persevered, and that pattern has run. It's like, oh my goodness, if I would have given up, I would totally be in another place. I don't know. Maybe I'm too stubborn to give up, but I think we give up far earlier than we should. Take the feedback, it's only feedback, and recalibrate a little bit.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Listeners, this is another one of those episodes you're going to have to listen to multiple times to really get all these golden nuggets, this wisdom that Debbie has shared with us. So thank you, Debbie, so much for doing this. And thank you all for taking time out of your precious day to listen to this interview. And I sincerely hope that it sparked some ideas you can use to sell more books. Here's wishing you much book and author marketing success.
The time is now to take action and finally build your book-selling empire. And the great news is that Susan is here to help you. Visit bookmarketingmentors.com and sign up for a free 15-minute book marketing strategy session with Susan. She'll help you discover your first steps to marketing and selling your book. Only those who take action are rewarded, so visit bookmarketingmentors.com, and we'll see you again next week.